Well, President Trump let Zelensky know what we've all been thinking since the start of their war with Russia.
That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards. Snoop Dogg!
And today we're going to look at just the amount of guns and ammo that has been given to Ukraine. The things they would lose if we were to actually pull support from them, and just how right President Trump is when it comes to us having the cards, or better yet, Zelensky and his country not having any cards if it weren't for us. Now, the reasons for the war in Ukraine and all of that kind of stuff, we're not going to go into that. This is strictly looking at the guns, but of course I'm going to give you my opinion along the way about some of this stuff and probably stagger your brain when it comes to the amount of money that's still left on the table, supposedly to go to Ukraine as well. Now, just to take a stab at it, if you haven't looked it up or maybe you don't know, how much money do you think is left on the table still from Biden that has been promised from the Pentagon to Ukraine? Leave those guesses down below, because that's going to be the first thing that we cover. And of course, I want to hear your opinion. No matter if you agree or disagree, let me know what you think down below. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So, how much is still left on the table to go to Ukraine? Well, all of these numbers are thrown around like it's nothing, right? Well, I think you would like to know what you're paying for, and what I'm paying for, what we're all paying for, right? Well, right now, there's still a $3.85 billion, according to the Pentagon, that's supposed to go to Ukraine. Now, I think Trump is probably going to end that, especially if Zelensky doesn't come to the table and actually sign this agreement. But to put $3 billion into perspective, we talk about this amount of money like it's chump change now, or at least our government does or has up until, Doge and things like that, and bringing all of this stuff to light. But in order for you or me to make just $3 billion, to make that kind of money, let's say you make $50,000 a year salary, right? That's a decent salary, okay? You'd have to work 5,700 years, actually 5,769 years, in order to make $3 billion. Even if you made $1 million a year, it would still take you 3,000 years in order to do that. Now, if anybody in the future is watching this 3,000 years from now, let me know if you made it, all right? Because for most of us, the idea of making just $1 billion is an absurd amount of money. Making $1 million a year is like, oh my gosh, it's life-changing, it's amazing. And yet there's still $3.85 billion left on the books promised to Ukraine. Now again, we're not going to be looking at the reasoning, right? The rights and the wrongs of this, but let's just be honest. At the start of 2022, I think it was February 2022, Ukraine would officially have been a part of Russia once again if it wasn't for us 6 weeks, maybe 6 months, if it wasn't for our support. We have been the biggest supporter to them, going all the way back to 2014, really. So how much of that money and how much of that support and the billions and billions of dollars that we've given to them actually comes down to arms and ammunition? Well, let's look at it together. There's a lot, right? So we're not going to cover it all, but some of the more interesting ones. We've sent, and when I say we've sent, there's actually a lot of companies, right, that we contract, tech companies and other companies, arms companies, right, major U.S. manufacturers. We contract, we give them contracts to make a lot of this weaponry and some of the more advanced stuff, right? So there's a lot of people making a lot of money off of this war, make no mistake about it, but it's also costing us a lot as well. So if you look at something like the howitzer, right, 155 millimeter, coming in at $3 million a pop, by the way, we've given them almost 200 of them with almost 2 million rounds of 155 millimeter artillery shells. We've also given them more than 7,000 guided 155 millimeter artillery shells, which can run in excess of like $100,000 per shell, which, I don't know, they said it's like more than the typical 105 millimeter shell, which is running at about, I don't know, $5,000 per. We've sent them 7,000. Now, I was gonna just kind of, do this back and forth, but I think I'm gonna read it right from here. So apologize for the laziness, but I think you'll still find this very interesting. One thing that stood out to me is 40,000 130 millimeter artillery rounds, 40,000 122 millimeter artillery rounds. Now here's another one that's cool, and I never served in the military. Anybody that has, big thanks to you guys. And if you've ever used any of this stuff, man, I'd love to hear from you guys, because I think that would be an interesting take on this video. But we have sent, I think they said 30,000 155 millimeter rounds of RAM, which is like a remote anti-armor mine system. So essentially, it's kind of crazy to think about, but you can create a minefield at distance. Now think about the millions, tens of millions of mines that like the Germans placed in France during World War II. They didn't have systems like this, right? I mean, and so I guess back then they placed them all by hand. Maybe they had some kind of system for it, but this is pretty incredible technology that we're sending. By the way, we've also sent 72 105 millimeter howitzers and 800,000 rounds to go along with that. Now, to put that in perspective, when you think about buying just a case of 9mm, you're like, oh my God, man, I'm stocked now, I'm good. Just to think 800,000 rounds of ammo for this one 105mm gun. Well, not one, but 800,000 rounds for 72 of these 105mm. It's just boggling. Now these are kind of interesting. These are actually named after Omar Bradley, General Omar Bradley. We have actually sent 186 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. So these essentially will provide armor for troops that are going in. They can also, provide counterfire, suppressed fire, right? So troops can move safely. More than 500 mine-resistant ambush protected vehicles, 10,000 javelins, more than 1.8 million rounds of 25mm ammunition. 8 logistics support vehicles, 239 fuel tankers, 105 fuel trailers, 58 water trailers, 6 armored utility trucks. Here's the amount that I think most people are going to be like, that doesn't even seem possible. More than 400 million rounds of small arm ammunition and grenades. So if you think your stockpile was big, this will make you feel like small time. More than 100,000 sets of body armor and helmets. So again, we got some catching up to do, boys. And actually, it looks like it's been updated. That's 500 million rounds of ammo. So just another 100 million rounds sent. So as far as like the small arms sent to Ukraine, I found a list on Google here of some of them, right? So you had some of the older FNCs, which were developed in the mid-70s, right? So we had some of them. We sent 5,000 of those. The F2000 from FN, pretty interesting choice, but we sent some of those. The SCAR, it just says a limited number of them. That's the SCAR L, by the way, SCAR Light. The FAL, right? So we still had, I guess, some of those guns, which is not a rifle that we ever adopted, but we did consider it before, of course, adopting the M14. Looks like we sent the FN machine guns, light machine guns, heavy machine guns, sniper rifles. They don't actually tell us which ones. And I've also seen reports of the M249, the SAW, the SCARs, the Barretts being used. There's quite a number of different guns that are in here, and most of these reports just tell the number, which is like 50,000 or upwards of 60,000 small arms. But just the amount of ammo and vehicles, training, support, helicopters, tanks. I mean, there's so much more to cover in here, but this just gives you a small glimpse into the amount of support we've given them. And to kind of sum this up, according to one report I saw, all European nations have given 138 billion to Ukraine. The United States alone, almost 120 billion to Ukraine. So, to say that Ukraine is holding any amount of cards, yeah, they would get a lot of support from European nations, and they're still backing them. But at the end of the day, without the U.S., again, I say good luck. There's a lot of companies that are making a lot of money in the United States off of this war. But at the end of the day, we're paying for this, right? And then when catastrophe hits and people in North Carolina don't have homes, can't escape their homes, or wildfires or whatever, we offer them $750. Now, I'm not into just passing out money to people for nothing, but when Americans need help, we should be there to support them before anybody else, and that is my opinion. And all of these people that support all of these firearms and ammo and everything going to other countries will take yours in a skinny minute because, again, it's all about one thing, and that is money. So there you go. Ukraine would absolutely be screwed if it wasn't for the U.S., and I do see them buckling to the pressure that Trump's putting them under, and it's nice to have somebody batting for us. So yeah, Trump is 100% right when it comes to that. I'd love to hear your opinion down below. Let me know what you think, and of course, if you like what I do, consider subscribing. See you in the next one, and as always, hold them down.